Ooh, gonna do a quick update. So I've worked out what's wrong with the audio in the previous videos. I'm not sure how far back, or at least what the last features were that I showed when it was still audible. I'll go back and cover anything necessary. But I'm just going to show a few things. I made a little list for myself so I can keep track. So yeah, there's now audio fall off, so sounds in the distance are quieter. There's a sort of general directional thing, but I'm not quite sure how to work the directional sounds in OpenAL. It doesn't seem to be just like a straight logical pan. But yeah, so let's dig out of the way of these zombies for a bit here. For example, we've got ricochet sounds. If you shoot a wall, okay, that's pretty quiet, but if we do it up close, it's pretty loud. Yeah, so the same applies with the zombies and so forth. So you no longer just hear a continuous large amount of other zombies. I'm just going to turn the volume up for a moment so you can sort of get a feel for it. So that's the next thing. I've added some basic physics components. At the moment it's just a really simple velocity and acceleration with the time step. But, excuse me, traffic going by. What that's allowed is a few good things. For one, pushing through crowds works a little bit better now. It's a little bit more stable. And you don't just dodge and weave, you actually nudge them as you go. And they're kind of doing a similar thing to each other. And yeah, I've got knockback for all the different things, so if you shoot them, they're knocked back just a teeny bit, because the round is mostly piercing their meat. The crowbar, on the other hand, actually gives them a good solid whacking. I've got the volume up too loud again. The crowbar gives them a solid whacking. I've no idea, I just kept the volume up over everything I was just saying, but we have knockback, we have physics. It's not excellent, but it's definitely improved. There's some automatic preventing them going through walls stuff where they squeeze back, but you can still get them to go through a wall, which is entertaining. So I use a bomb which also has knockback, and this guy here has been pushed into a wall. Oh no, apparently he's gone out of it. This guy is a little bit confused. There we go. So yeah, there's still a few glitches where they get stuck. I'm not quite sure what's going on with those. Yeah. So yeah, we've got shoving, we've got knockback. That's good. You'll notice the frame rate's fairly low at the moment. I'm not quite sure what's going on. There's a few optimizations that I need to do. When I added the more complex entities, there's a few simple things like all of the zombies are currently checking all of each other, just as my character is, more than every frame, as frequently as possible, basically. So whilst the zombies actually they have a limited perception of me, namely I can go behind something and they lose track of me. They're still updating every frame against themselves for things like collision detection and so forth, which is less than ideal. It'd be nice if important collision detection could be done every frame, like for example bullets or shots, but if the pushing stuff and the wall collision, things like that, could be checked a little bit less frequently. That would save an awful lot of calculations, because at the moment I'm doing a circle calculation, circle collision between all of them, between everything actually. That'd be sped up a lot by using access line binding boxes instead. But for the time being, testing with a circle is good because it sort of gives me a worst case scenario. A lot of small changes kind of like that, like, you know, with the exception of the aesthetic things that I've just shown, which are pretty cool aesthetic things, I will admit. We've got other things like there's a support for the weird Windows key code. It seems in Java the enter key can be either a key character or a key code under Mac, but in Windows it seems to only be a key code. Didn't know that. Yeah, there's additional functions where any movement by an entity tries to slide out of any unwalkable tile it ends up in. So that's supposed to minimize the chances of them getting stuck in a wall, but there still seems to be something causing it. It's probably just an off by one error somewhere. I've added the option for audio to have individual gain, so different sounds can have the volume set. That'll allow me to use normalized sound volumes so that everything's at maximum volume and has maximum quality, and just adjust the sound in engine. That's separate to the fall off. Initially it was actually setting one for both, which didn't really work very well. Crowbar aiming, it was pointing in the direction of the feet, not in the direction of the hands, which was causing a problem. You may notice also the cheat, the dodgy animation for crowbar is just twitching him to the side and letting him return to where he was. So, and what it was doing was actually calculating also the direction of where he was at that rightmost turning point as the direction to hit. So it didn't really matter because the spread of the crowbar hit is actually pretty wide anyway, but it's getting on my nerves. Use now calls more than one object. It used to just call the object that it thought was in the right direction, but since changing direction stuff, I hadn't updated it. It unfortunately resulted in it not really working. It also became kind of annoying when there were multiple usable objects in an area. Now this is probably not going to be even remotely practical. Probably going to have more like a click on thing to use, because if I go like this, I can actually activate a whole bunch of bombs at once, which might not be what we want. Oh, it's interesting, it didn't do it that time. More off by ones. Yeah, that's pretty much it, really. Entities can now be immovable. When I added the initial sort of shoving stuff, it was allowing me to shove around computers and all sorts of things. Now there's a flag. Woo! That's about it, really. Just gonna turn the cooldown time down. Just say 30. Up my ammo. Up the size of the magazine. And up the spread a little bit. Oops. That's a bit better. Frame rate is shocking. Anyway, it's averaging about 70 to 80 frames per second without the screen recorder, which is frankly unacceptable, but funnily enough, a lot of that seems to be happening in the shader, because I get up to like 300, 400 FPS when I turn the shader off. Doesn't seem to be making a huge difference here, other than making everything look ugly. Now there's a lot of noise. Everyone's starting to go to work. Anyway, yeah, that's probably it. Oh, there's also blood splatters. I didn't mention that. There's blood everywhere. There's directional blood splatters when you hit them. And then there's also the death blood splatter. There's no corpses, because frankly, oh right, I've disabled their updates. There's no corpses because that would involve some drawing separate graphics just for them falling over. And that's not my priority. Wow, crowbar. Let's do it a bit more fun, that's better. Come on. Hehe. Aww. Video done.